Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here.
And Aki.
And anyway, I know this is a little bit of an unconventional video and something that I don't usually do, but for those of you that don't know, today is the 6th anniversary of the Tohoku Earthquake in Sendai, and as someone who actually lived there at the time, I wanted to give my own story about what I went through and basically what she went through while I was there and she was here, just to kind of put a perspective on things, because it's been 6 years, but stuff ain't fixed yet. There's still a lot of damage, there's still people missing, there's still so much to do. One thing I want to make very clear, I did monetize this video, but I want you guys to know that the money I make from monetizing this video, I'm putting right back into the Tohoku Relief Fund, and if you guys want to donate to that as well, I've put a link in the description. It should be one of the first links you see in the description if you want to donate, because like I said, I know it's been 6 years, stuff still ain't fixed yet, and I just kind of want to talk about my experiences, and Aki wanted to talk about her experiences. So anyway, to kind of put things in perspective, I was in the Kinki region at the time, Mie Prefecture, which is in the Kansai area, kind of far south. So I wasn't immediately impacted, thank goodness, by this earthquake, but I did have friends that did. When it happened, like, we still felt it. And when it happened, it was really weird, because up till that time, I never really experienced an earthquake, like, unless I was quasi-asleep. But what happened was, so there are wires hanging up all over the place in the teacher's room, right? And those are where you can, like, plug stuff into. I don't know why, but Japan, like, teachers' rooms have sockets that hang from above rather than going in through the ground. But anyway,
probably so people don't trip on them.
That's very likely, actually. But no, they started doing this, just ever so slightly shifting left and right, and then I felt the chair just go left and right ever so slightly. And when this was happening, I felt super sick. Like, I felt right there I was gonna barf. And it was because all of the fluids in my head were very subtly shaking. And that was insane. I had never experienced anything like that before. And I looked around and I'm like, and I looked at the wires moving up and around. And Kyoto Sensei, the vice principal, was like, Jishinda. And I was like, wait, really? There's an earthquake? I mean, I guess that makes sense. So it was so weird. Because everyone was really calm about it, and all the teachers just got into their rooms, because every teacher's room had a TV, and so they turned on the TV and just to try and find all the reports, and it was really insane because we weren't really sure what had happened, and it was just the earthquake part, which did a good amount of damage, because everything's so close together, stuff's falling over, getting knocked around. Like, if you've ever seen a good sky map of a residential zone in Japan, it's like house. It's all just super tight. And it's kind of overwhelming to an extent. And so I was just watching, live when the tsunami actually hit. There was like helicopter footage, and it didn't even look like water. It just looked like a blob of just trash and debris and just disgusting crap, just swiftly, like 60, 70, even 100 like miles an hour, just slamming over what was just farmland. It was like watching this giant blob of disgusting, toxic crap just quickly overtaking farmland and houses and things like that, and cars. Watching cars getting flipped and pushed like
micro machines. Oh
heavens! Like, that was awful, and I wasn't there, but it's like we did have a tsunami warning in the part where I lived in Mie, because I lived very, very close to Yokkaichi, which is just on the coastline off of Mie. So there was a warning for that. I think it was only about a 7-8 foot wave, something like that. Mm-hmm. Like, it was a lot less powerful by the time it got back to us, but. And all of the teachers were calm. I didn't understand that. Like,
well, they would have to be.
They would have to be.
Keep the kids calm.
Well, there weren't any kids in the room. That's the freaky thing. Like, I applaud them. I want to be like them in that regard. But everyone was so calm. Like, watching that level of destruction, everyone was calm. And I didn't know if I should either be in awe of that calmness or a little bit scared of it. But to have that level of control was just absolutely insane. And, of course, the kids were notified. Kids that had family in that region were excused from school for an allotted period of time in order to take care of things, so to speak. So, honey, how about your side?
I was worried for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would kind of expect that.
I mean, I know that you were still quite a ways away, but
right.
I mean, I didn't know what was going on, what was going to happen.
I sent.
It was scary.
As soon as it happened, though, I sent you a text, though.
Yeah.
So, like, that was at what, 3 a.m., something like that.
Yeah, like at this point, I had already been getting up at 4 a.m. to speak with him on Skype anyway, and I woke up to a text around 3 a.m. or so, and all it said was, "A big earthquake just hit. Wanted to let you know I'm okay."
Yeah.
And I was just like, what?"
I'm sorry.
And it's like, I get to my computer, I pull up Skype, I start pulling news reports, and it's talking about this huge earthquake and tsunami and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my god. And then it was just spent like a better part of like, what, 4 hours?
Yeah, we talked for a long time, because I wanted to make sure you knew I was safe.
Yeah, and just looking over all these different news reports, and even then, I had that day off work, I remember.
Yep.
So, after you went to bed, I actually stayed up and kept looking at news reports.
Yeah, just because, just keeping up on things.
Yeah. At the time, this is, where was I working? I don't even remember where I was working at the time.
This was back before we were established or either of us had steady jobs.
Yeah. And I was actually living in my mom's. But I actually managed to find a relief fund that was already going up, and I donated about $175 towards it to help people. And then I spent like the better part of 2 months eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh, that's what you had to do.
Because it just made bills tight, and I was making barely enough money as it was, but I wanted to help.
Yeah.
Because this was the only way I could. I actually, for the longest time, I will admit, I wanted to like go over to Japan and like volunteer and help clean up stuff.
We're gonna get to that. After everything happened, all of us, all the jets, everyone in the jet program, all of the ALTs, we wanted so much to go and actually help with like the cleanup effort and help find people and do all this. You know, we wanted to help because we love Japan, and we wanted to take care. We want to help take care of it. You know, the whole reason we were there in the first place is that we cared that much about Japan's well-being that we wanted to teach. Yeah. We wanted to be diplomats.
Yeah,
and
it's your second home.
It really does feel like that sometimes. But they wouldn't let us. They would not let any foreigners assist in the cleanup, search and rescue, or anything. And we were all really furious at that. We understood why. Because of the language barrier, because there were situations that could be very much life and death if something was not done in a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
So while we understood why it had to be that way, we hated the fact that was the problem. Yeah. Like, and some of us were very, very fluent. Like, maybe, you know, I at that time, and I still am not super duper fluent in Japanese. I'm conversational at best. So, but I mean, it's like we still could have gone and like picked up trash. Mm-hmm. You know, we could have done things that don't require constant communication, and that drove me crazy. Mm-hmm. And even people, like I said, even some of us that actually had the ability to speak Japanese relatively fluently were still turned away because they just did not want to even run the risk of there being like a communications breakdown, which could lead to someone's death. And again, I understood that, but God, was that frustrating. God, and speaking of frustrating, how about you tell them what you experienced with jackasses over here in response to that? Because I didn't even think about it.
A lot of it, like a lot with the news reports, like comments on videos, especially. Like there were like one I saw, the earthquake hit and the tsunami was coming in. What was it, like a 30, 40 freaking wave. Like,
yeah.
it was massive.
Yeah.
And someone was up, like, on this hill and filming just this wall of freaking water that just came in. And there were people running, and it hit them, and they were gone. And a lot of the commenters on those particular videos were saying bullshit like, oh, that's payback for Pearl Harbor. And I'm like, I want to find you, and I want to stab you in your throat.
We did so much more damage to them.
Like there was just so much racist crap. And I'm like, there are people dying. Like, in this video that you are watching, and you're saying this stuff? What is wrong with you? Like, it was incredibly upsetting.
Well, yeah.
It still upsets me.
Oh.
I mean, obviously, but...
No, it's funny, because every time I do a video or anything that involves, like, terrible atrocities that happened to them during, like, World War II or something along those lines, I always get, like, 5 or 6 people that were like, oh, well, they just had it coming after Pearl Harbor. I'm like, how about you run the numbers of how many people died in Pearl Harbor versus how many people died during the firebombing and the double nuclear bomb dropping that we threw out over there. I just... Look, war is dumb. War is dumb no matter how you slice it, and anyone who ever enacts it for selfish gains is no hero in my book. But God, let's have some perspective, people. Anyway, so I kind of wanted to talk about the fallout of after everything happened, because that was the biggest thing that happened to me, since, like I said, I didn't live in the Sendai area or Tokyo, or just generally up north where the earthquake really affected it. Well, it's not like it didn't affect me though. So, for example, like I had a buddy named Kengo, and he was a really good friend of mine when he was here studying abroad, and super good guy. He ran like the Japan student organization that I was a part of as well. He had to walk home from work. Let me put in perspective what that meant. Since all the trains were tied up because of the earthquake, he had to spend 4 to 6 hours walking home. 4 to 6 hours walking home. That was ludicrous to me. But to think about spending 4 to 6 hours walking home, because I would text him, and he'd be like, yeah, I'm headed home from work, and it would be like 5 o'clock, and he's like, oh, hey, I'm home, and it was 10.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God.
At least he was safe.
He was safe.
I remember you were freaking out about it, actually, because you hadn't heard back from him and I think like 2-3 others.
Yeah, there were a couple other jets. There was Casey, who was like under a desk when all of that was happening, and I'm like, God, I hope you're okay, bro. But the other thing that was really, really disconcerting was the lack of food. He sent me pictures. If I can find it, I'll put it up on screen. He sent me pictures of just completely empty shelves. There was no food in any store. And that's terrifying to think of, considering Japan doesn't buy food in bulk. They actually buy food on a daily basis. They don't stock up. That's why if you ever go to like a Japanese grocery store, that's why their carts are so small. Mm-hmm. In fact, they're about as big as the handbasket that you get at Walmart. Yeah. It's because they get food based on what they need for the day, not for the week or the month or whatever, how we stock up. So to not see food in stores was really scary. In fact, my little Inaka countryside town, which, you know, like I said, had so little micro affected by this whole thing, there was no rice and no water at all. And I mean, granted, there was other food, so it's not like I was going hungry or anything. And I knew that all of that water and all of that rice was heading up north as a relief effort. But at the same time, I'm like, holy cow. Because it's so... Those are the two things you always see at a store. Mm-hmm. But it's like, the other thing, too, is that it's been brought up before, and I'm going to bring it up again because this does not need to be forgotten. There was absolutely zero looting and rioting. None! For people that even to this day, 6 years later, are desperate for money and food, there was no rioting.
They were standing in line calmly.
Yep.
at these stores, even with the aftershocks.
Yep.
Standing in line waiting at ATMs.
Yep.
But, if that were to happen here...
Oh, God, people would be taking, like, TVs and other stupid crap that's like, hey, you're in a natural disaster. Yeah, I need a new widescreen TV.
Yeah.
1080p at least, please.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Oh my God. Or no, I'm gonna spring for a 480 while I'm looting, while there's a massive fire going on. But I mean... It didn't, but like I said, it didn't mean that I was completely unaffected by the event. There were several times during the night where I was woken up to aftershocks. That is not a fun thing to experience. When you see live a giant swampy blob of debris and destruction swiftly taking over land, and you start feeling aftershocks. Even if they're small and you're woken up by them, you get a little. It's very terrifying. In fact, it was to a point where all of the ALTs, all of the participants in the JET program, were told that we had to put together an emergency pack because we did not know if and when there was another area of Japan that was going to get hit next. Like, there was no telling if Mie was going to get hit, if the Kansai area in general was going to get hit, if Sendai was going to get hit again. You never, ever know. So I actually had to go out. Actually, can you go grab the bag? Okay, sorry, we're back. I went out and bought this bag. It is, let's see here. It's got, you put, string. You put your name on it. I don't know if you can see if the camera's being fussy. But this is a very, very flame-resistant bag. You actually put your address back here. I didn't because it was going to be with me at all times. Yeah, this is just an emergency flame retardant bag that you put like a couple days worth of food and water, all of your documentation that you need as a foreigner, everything. Oh wait, here it is.
Yeah. Oh, your whistle.
Yeah, my whistle. So like if I was trapped under rubble, you just blow this whistle. So shh. Well, I don't want to blow it too hard because it's super loud. Sorry. But yeah, it's like
pretty water resistant too.
It is. It's not waterproof, but it's very resistant, very tough.
You can tell it's almost like a canvas feeling.
It is, yeah. But yeah, like if you live in Japan, everyone has one of these, just to make sure. So anyway, that's interesting. Thank you for that, dear.
Like Pomo has one too.
Does she?
Yeah.
I didn't see it when we were visiting.
Yeah, I saw it. She had it like hanging in her closet.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone, you always have to have an emergency packet. So uneasy, because I've lived in the middle of the United States, and now the southern middle of the United States for so long, I've never really experienced earthquakes on any sort of scale, and so to feel those out of nowhere and be woken up by them was just absolutely terrifying. There was also a lot of pressure for me to leave. Granted, it was not from her, and was not from my parents, because I told them immediately, like, I woke them up telling them that I was okay. So for my parents, it's like, I sent an email saying, this giant earthquake hit, I am fine, do not worry about me, I'm okay. Be more concerned about the people farther up north than me. And they were like, okay. And then that was it.
Yeah. Your parents were actually really chill about it.
They were really chill because they knew I was safe. But it's like, I had a bunch of friends. Like, I understand where they were coming from, but there were people that were not asking me to come home, they were telling me to come home. They said, come home right now, your life is not worth this. And so many days I got this. And I got so tired of it. I was so mad that people were just telling me, because to me, this was my dream. I went to college specifically so I could go to Japan and live this dream. And I still want to live it. And these were people telling me to come home to basically nothing. And I don't know. I know I'm just repeating myself at this point, but I was so mad. So anyway, we had there were other ALTs further south, further away from this that left. All of the jets in Osaka left.
Yeah.
And at the time, like, a lot of us were super, super pissed because it's like, oh, you're a bunch of cowards. But in retrospect, seeing how much pressure that was on me to come home, I couldn't imagine what it was like for people whose parents were not chill enough to understand that we're okay.
Yeah.
So if any of you guys are watching, I don't hold it against you at all. It's just, it was a stupid, rough time. So, anyway, I know this is a long video, and if you've sat through it the whole way, I can't thank you enough for it, because Japan is still not fixed yet. It's got a long way to go, and it still needs help, and it still needs donations. Like I said, all the money I make from this video is going straight into the Tohoku Relief Fund. You can actually find a link to that relief fund in the description. I know if you guys are a fan of Joey the Anime Man, I know he's putting together a video, I believe today, that talking about his experiences, because he actually has family that lived in that area, so his perspective is going to be as valuable, if not far more valuable than mine. I don't know, I might do another video talking about the reaction with the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear reactor, because that's a whole other can of worms. Like, I actually saw people protesting in Nagoya, like, saw it live. So that was interesting.
Seeing all that, I actually learned how nuclear reactors work.
Yeah, it's definitely educational when you might die by it. So
yeah.
Anyway, that's all I've got, guys. Thank you so much for paying attention. Thank you so much for sitting in. And again, if you guys want to donate to this as well, link is in the description. So thank you guys for watching. And until next time, this is Gaijin Goombah
and Akitara
signing out.